Hello, where is everyone this morning? Hopefully they're getting there. Hopefully. Interesting. I didn't even get my notification. Interesting. So, hello. Hang on. Okay, now it's coming through. I'm getting notification. Just interesting with things coming up. Yeah. All right. So, welcome everybody. It is going to be another hot one here in Cowtown. And heat's going to go up to about 30 today. And we got a lot of things going on. Let's see who's going to come in and have a little coffee chat with me this morning. So I'm going to do my thumbs up.
Things going on. Got a lot of things going on. Let's see.
Say hello to everyone. Where's everybody at? So hello. Yeah. So, wow. I'm just going to get right into it. My name is Mary Jane Tracy. I'm a psychic. I'm a spiritual love of life coach, and an astrologer, and bringing you the 411 of the cosmic highway and the shenanigans of the planets. And Mercury has gone forward today. So what does that mean? That means hallelujah. Let's celebrate. I mean, it has been a crazy Mercury retrograde, and along with the eclipses, really brought a lot of things up for a lot of people. I know it brought a lot of stuff up for me and a lot of changes for my own self, personally, physically, mentally, spiritually. It really tapped into parts of me or parts of my soul that to bring in changes, to bring in new thought form. It's still fresh. It's still new. There's a lot there discovering. I'm still discovering a lot within my own self, and especially with everything myself opening up even more to the flow, and with that Mercury retrograde, and it's going forward today. And we also have, with the sun in Cancer and the moon is in just going into Sagittarius, and we have Mars in Leo, and Mars in Leo is coming up to an opposition with Saturn. And with that opposition to Saturn, it's going to be forming a T square in the sky. So it's going to have an opposition, and then they're going to square off Uranus, and then Uranus is going to release out into Scorpio. So there's going to be huge releasement coming up out into Scorpio. So there's this releasement of secrets, of things needing to be divulged, brought up more to the surface, because Mars is in, two fire signs. So we have, or not two fire signs, but we got this fire sign, it's fixed signs coming up. So Mars is in the fire. Mars is like saying, hey, look at what's going on. Is this the structure that we really want? Goes over to Saturn, and Saturn says, yes, we're going to make this happen, but I'm trying to bring in intellectual. I'm trying to bring it in a way that's more dynamic. And then Uranus comes in and he says, yeah, but it's got to be new and innovated. And it's got to be able to come down into this world. It's got to be substantial into this world, with a releasement into Scorpio. And Scorpio says, yes, but make sure you have the boundaries and the truth with it. Because if you're not with the truth, and if you're not stating the truth, or if you're being deceitful in any ways, it's going to come out. And here comes Venus, and Venus is very emotional through this all, very emotional. So we have a lot of emotion that's coming up with Venus, with the sun, talking to a moon in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is going to get aggravated. They're going to be like, well, I got to tell everybody this isn't right. We got to go out and we got to do this. And so then there's going to be this energy of because Mercury's forward, and Mercury says, hey, I'm just getting forward. Information is coming out, but with that moon in Sag, it's going to really rile things up, because it's fire too. So we have fire and water energy coming up, and water can put the fire out. We know that, a lot of people who have that in their chart, trying to get things going, might find, working with their emotions is just a little bit overwhelming. Or that fire and water kind of energy could be like a gasoline going onto the water and then causing that flame to come up and then just going out of control. So that's kind of the energy, and secrets are or something is going to be leaked. Hence what's happened here in Canada. They passed a law while we were sleeping that has real implications on our internet and social media. So this is going to be interesting how this is going to be played out in the next coming months, and how many people are going to be scrambling to get a new IPN. I bet you there's going to be huge scrambling to get an IPN, so your IPN isn't Canadian anymore. And you can do that. There are different sites that you can go on to get that done and change it. So when you're on the internet, it shows that you're not broadcasting from Canada. It could be the United States, could be Germany, could be France. So, and opening up other doorways for people. So this is going to be an interesting how this is going to play out for Canadians in the next coming months, and our freedoms and our rights in what we are going to say. And this is going to take a whole new twist of shit, of censorship that's going to come through, like really that C-10 bill, that it's just going to bring in a whole new kettle of fish. And since it's passed into law, of course, laws can be changed and laws can be fought. I mean, certain laws that we've had, we knew were unjust, right? So new laws are coming, can be unjust, but we have to recognize that as being unjust and not sit on the sidelines and believe everything and what the government has to say. We all know the government lies. We all know that. This is what, as above, so below. They're showing that as Saturn is in Aquarius, is finding out all of this information because it's an air sign, intellect, what's going on, trying to make sense of it all. Now Mercury's going forward and trying to figure this out, trying to figure out our next steps, what's going on, what is truth and what isn't truth. And it comes within our core, and it comes with us trusting our core, trusting our knowingness, trusting who, this inside our heart, taking it from our head, bringing it into our heart and grounding it out into the world and into our earth walk that we do. This is imperative. This is hugely impactful on people's websites. This is impactful on your social media and how you interact with other people. So this is bringing a lot forward for people. This is going to be bringing a lot, and I think there's going to be even more information coming out, not only in Canada but I think in other countries, that's going to get leaked out, and people are going to be like, what? Whoa. So that's going to, and you're not going to hear a lot of this in the media. That's the thing. So it's, where people say, well, it's not on mainstream media. Of course it's not on mainstream media, because who controls mainstream media? Well, let's go into Neptune, and Neptune is going to be going retrograde. And if you read my post that I posted this week, it's going to show you that with Neptune retrograde, it's going to bring in a whole lot of rhetoric. It's going to bring in a whole lot of, oh, what, my God, what's happening here? Because it's the tide is coming out with Neptune retrograde, and especially in Pisces, it's the tide coming out. It's revealing things that maybe have been really lost in the depths of the ocean. And especially when it has to do with propaganda, news media, information coming out, things are going to be like he's the recesses, so now we got the big dudes all retrograde, right? Our personal planets are going forward. So Mercury's forward, Venus is forward, Mars is forward. What's going to be retrograde is going to be Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. So we have the big wigs and our subconscious being retrograded. So there's going to be, we're going back, we're looking at things, reviewing things, seeing what fits, what doesn't fit. Is this really the action, and is this the energy I want to go to? Neptune retrograde is that mirage in the desert. Is that you go up to the mirage and there's nothing there, but then something maybe bigger shows up. Is that our truth? Is that am I going to be vulnerable and go towards it or not? And that's what this Neptune retrograde is going to show you. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to go to it, or maybe there is something really there that I need to go and discover. And Neptune will get you to figure that out over the next coming. Excuse me, my allergies are really acting up because it got hot today. In this really, and I'm snuffling into my mic in this energy that's coming forward. So we have a huge amount of energy, and there's emotion that's going to come in, and there's going to be a lot of emotions that are going to be real this week. It's a highly emotional week. The energies, I'd say, yes, there's that Jupiter energy with the sun, which makes it nice. I mean, there's some nice there's, but I still feel a bit of frustration. Any planet that starts to go forward does bring in some craziness with it, and it raises a lot of dust, raises a lot of energy with that. So we're going to see a lot of craziness start to arise, and that's where we got to, again, here we come back. This is a lessons on staying into our truth, staying into our values, staying into what we know. What is your truth? What is your truth? What is it that that you need to be going through, what you need to be doing? And that's why, for me, doing the spiritual coaching is so imperative, because this is a time, and that's where my chart is showing me, is that this is a time of coaching. This is a time of working and making changes. 10th house is my Pisces. Making the changes with how I'm connecting with spirit, bringing that energy down, and with that connection. So spiritual coaching with astrology helps my clients to be able to make the choices that they need to make, helps them to really decipher and trust in themselves, and to understand too, a lot of times when you look at your chart, understand, okay, this is what I've come in to work with. So instead of fighting it, why don't I go with it? Because sometimes we have aspects in our chart that we fight. It's like I have a Saturn square my sun. Saturn square your sun is not an easy aspect. It's like you're always fighting the establishment. You're always fighting, this, instead of like, okay, that's cool. That's where they want to go. But I want to allow my sun to shine. What are areas of that I can take and bring and integrate into my world in order for my life to be more of ease and flow? It's taken me a while to realize that and go with it. This is allowing myself to step into my values and what I feel is right, and allowing my heart to shine and be vulnerable and be truthful with my world. And that's, for me, that's where I'm going. So if you are wanting to come in to get some spiritual coaching, we can sign up. I'm putting together packages, and you can sign up for some packages. And when I do the spiritual coaching, this isn't signing up and then you get one, like you're like, oh, I'll just sign up and get a reading. And then, no, this is coaching. This is coming in to do some work one-on-one with me, 1 hour a week or bi-weekly. And there's stuff that you have to do. There's questions that I send out to you, of you to look through and answer and say, okay, this, sometimes it might be overwhelming, and say, okay, give me a couple weeks. I need to work through this stuff because this is a lot. Cool. I'm allowing you to go through that transition and then meeting up. So that's, with that energy of allowing for people to shine more, to be able to step in their power even more. So we're doing that. So we're coming into a lot more of an alignment when it comes to that. And chart readings. So chart readings are going to be a big one, and getting your chart read. And getting your chart read is 1 hour. I can't do a chart reading in 30 minutes. Well, I can, but you're not going to get the gist, and you're just going to be like, oh, okay. Get a chart reading is a 1 hour reading. And right now they're $160. Will the price go up? Possibly. In the fall, they will go up. But right now they're at 160. So getting a chart reading, and some chart readings from other astrologers can go up to $1,000 for a 1 hour reading with them. Sometimes they'll give you an hour and a half, but it's about $1,000 on average. And that's because of the time it takes for them to go through your chart, talk to you, give you the information. And I don't do any write-ups, so you just get the recording with my readings. So I don't do write-ups. So, and I know some people think that's shocking, but these are astrologers who have been doing it for 30 years plus. And if I had the money for some of them, I would actually pay for it because that's how good they are. And when you start bringing in different forms of astrology, the information that comes through, there's a type of astrology called Hori. It's a horrible name. Astrology. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. They draw, whatever question you have, they draw a chart on it for that day. Then they can, whatever your question is, they can find out the information. They've done that with finding criminals and things like that. It's amazing. I'm not proficient on that type of astrology at all. It is one that I've looked at, but it does take some time in doing. Found out a lot of interesting thing when you did my chart. Yeah. And it's honoring it, right? There's a lot of energy when it comes into looking into people's charts. And it does help with the coaching. That's what I find is understanding your chart gives me an understanding. Okay, she's this person, or he or she is more, or they would rather just listen. They're more of a listening type of energy, or no, they want to do things. They're more, want to do things. Others are like, I'll put this into action, right? And some will just like, well, I gotta feel it. It's gotta feel right. And allowing for that energies to integrate with them. And it's so important. It's so important. And the energies that we have this week is about looking at how you're going to integrate a lot of the new truths that you found over the course of Mercury retrograde, and how are you going to implement them in the coming months as we go forward. And there's an energy of ending a 19-year cycle. So we're ending the complete cycle with, and then especially with the North Nodes, because the North Nodes will be moving. I take a heavy sigh. Out of Gemini and Sagittarius, and they will be moving later on this year into Taurus and Scorpio. So we have a transformation and changes that are going to be coming up and making those changes. So there's a lot for us to start to really review with the directions that we want to take. And part of that is like looking at, where do you want to be? Like when I looked at, okay, 19 years, oh my God. So I'll be what? 76 years old. What do I want to be doing? Do I still want to be doing this in 20 years from now or 19 years from now? So it's something to look at. And it could be, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing this, but I want to do it in a different way, or maybe be able to have more travel time or downtime, to be able to sit back. I don't think I'll ever sit back, but to be able to move, my whole thing is to move more into a flow, move more into an energy that allows me to make the changes I need. And following my chart lets me sort of see those types of things, not tell me exactly what's going to happen, but helping me to be aware of where I'm supposed to be going, especially when it comes into my, where a lot of energy is moving. Is it moving for me to move into working with groups and working with others? Yes, that's a huge part of my chart. And working more with community. Yes, that's another part too that's coming in. So reaching out and moving and working with community more, especially since I'm coming up to a Saturn return next year. So this energy is building up. So these are the kinds of things for, looking at and for coaching on, and on how to meander your way through it all. So, and especially this week, we have a full moon coming up in Capricorn, which is going to give us, Capricorn, all about structure. What are the structures that you are putting down? We have a full moon meditation coming up at noon on Thursday. So if you want to join me, definitely let me know. And looking at those structures, we also have tapping into your power with your blue flame. Your blue flame, people go, so what's your blue flame? What's your blue flame? And I said, well, it's what you have passion for, what this is what you are going to do. And a lot of times people, will say, well, then that's my children. No, it moves beyond your children, because once your children are gone, moved out, gone on their roads, what's your passion? And this is where a lot of people get stuck. What do you mean? What do I have to do? What do you love to do? Right? So this is looking into that. This is what I love. This moves on beyond me, moves on beyond my family, moves beyond, anything. It's what draws me, and what creates and what makes me happy. And this could be, it's not necessarily a paying job. This is something that moves beyond that. It moves beyond that payment or those jobs that you think you need to have. All right. So this is something that you could be, the lovely little Japanese woman who started organizing people's houses. She loves messes. She does. Marie Kudos, I think her name is. Loves messes. There's her passion. That's her blue flame. When you see that woman in action, when she's folding and looking at goes into people's houses and looks at them and says, whoa, okay, this is what we need to do, she lights up. That's a passion. That's a light up, right? When you are doing something and it lights up. I used to own a scrapbooking store. And when in my scrapbooking store, there would be people that would come into the scrapbooking store and they would just like, oh my God, just light up, because that was their passion in keeping family history and finding out the knowledge of their family and ancestry, and going into the ancestry. That just lit them up, and they're keeping up, and they're creating all these different books for them, not only for themselves, but for their children and their grandchildren, and even for cousins and aunts. I mean, it just goes on, keeping that history. That was like, and going on. And some of them were even writing articles on it and all kinds of things. So finding that passion, we all have it in some degree. It's there, and once we ignite it and open up to it, it is amazing how your world starts to unfold, because you really start to open up to new ideas, new way. Things start to just move in a way that you never thought they would. And it's when years ago, when one of my clients / friends suggested for me to go on Periscope, and I was like, oh, Periscope. And she was telling me, well, Periscope's really cool. They have yoga instructors, they have people come on. And at that time, your video didn't stay up very long on Periscope. It was up and then it was gone. If you saved it, you could put it onto, they had a where you could put it onto YouTube and stuff like that. And I was like, ooh, that's scary. But when I started doing it, I started off very easily, very simply. It really ignited something in me. Like, it really ignited where I'm just like, wow, I kind of like this. I really like this. And it was one that really got me to start to really look at the things I love to do. And it just grew from there. And I started doing more on Periscope. I started off and I did some readings for people. And it just went from there to where I am now. And I can see it even moving from this structure or whatever I'm doing now to possibly something else. I'm not too sure what that is, but moving in new directions and allowing it to move and unfold, that ignites me. That, wow, I love doing that. I really love it. It's like people who, find pleasure in gardening. Like, you see them, they just light up, and I love watching gardening shows, and watching how they're working in their garden and putting everything together, and all the lusciousness that comes in. That's part of their blue flame, right? That ignites them, that gets them going. So that's, you know, it's a long explanation on the course that I'm teaching for 6 weeks, but it's tapping into that, man. And when you tap into it, it's beautiful. It is going to be, I can see it's going to be one of my core courses along with Journey Club. It is one of those courses that is transformational. I believe it's going to be transformational. Even because there are different rituals that we're going to be doing, from working with our ancestral energies and tapping into that ancestor energy to there's a head one that I've been doing. I didn't do it this morning, but it is just this quick little ritual, and when I do it, my whole body tingles. It's just like, oh yes, it's phenomenal. In doing that. So there's just different things to integrate that really help to ground, helps us to um, take a look at, parts of ourselves that we can move forward with, and move forward with it. That's where, and I know, and here's the thing, it's like, I know certain people that would really benefit from it, but that's not up for me to tell them that. It's up for them, because I've done that before. I've said to people, "Oh, Journey Club's really great. This is something that, I know you need. I know you need it, but you have to know. You have to know that you need it. You are the one who has to make that decision to do these courses." Some people want a one day fix. Oh, just give it to me in one day. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I can give you information in one day. You can get some of the information from me here. But to come in with a community, to come in with others, really, especially my fairy group is another one. That fairy group, and my fairy workshop, I'm probably going to do that again in October, because that was phenomenal. We'll see, because it's 15 weeks. It's a really long course. But it is a phenomenal one that brings forth a lot of shadow sides. There's a lot of talk about our shadow sides, because that's what the fairies get us to do, and tapping into that. So, and I can see how that, working with the fairies again, bringing that energy in, and how it integrates with what I'm doing here. It's just phenomenal. So we're in a process of huge change spiritually, and it's going to take us, each of us, to find where our flame is. Some of us are ready to ignite it. Some of us are sort of sitting on the fence, maybe hoping, wishing that things are going to change in a magical way. But seeing what's happened today, with that bill being passed at midnight last, I think it was, the only reason I found out about it was through TikTok, believe it or not, a Canadian from Ottawa. And I posted it up on my Instagram. Or not, I posted up. I'm going to be posting it up on Instagram too, but I posted it up on my Facebook page. But this is where it's like, okay, we have to unite. We have to stand in our power. We have to allow our light to shine. This is so important. So important. Things that, we were told were not going to happen are starting to, I think this whole pandemic, people call it plandemic or whatever, I will never take away from the people who have gotten sick from it, and people who have lost their loved ones through it. I believe it's something that is coming into. Some will survive this. Some will survive this. Many won't. Some will survive this, but many won't. And the ones that are here, the ones that are surviving this, are the ones that have to hold the light. You're being asked to hold the light. You're being asked to be here, to stand in truth, stand in your values, stand in your wisdom, for others to be able to stand up in their light and their wisdom and their truth. But in doing that is a vulnerability, is courage for us to do that. And it could be standing up in many different ways, from standing up to cancel culture. I saw a post and somebody was saying, well, cancel culture is this. I'm like, no, you don't know what cancel, you don't understand what cancel culture is. It's canceling out being a human being. That's what it is. And that's how I see it. It's canceling out on you, not allowing you to shine your light in the truth without we're going to go back to that 17 degrees with Gemini, without being an asshole, and standing in the maturity of the light and saying, you know what, yes, there's a time for all of this. Like there's a, there's a time, there's always a time for something, right? And this is where we have to look at, this is a time of unity, this is a time of truth, this is a time of standing in our light and acknowledging that light that we have. This morning when I was looking at things, and I noticed in Penticton and there was a fire in Penticton, but this fire was on the res. And the fire was an old building that's been there for over 100 years, and it was a Catholic church, St. Anne's, I think it was called. And it burnt down, and another one burnt down in Oceus, and it is to do with arson. I understand the burning it down was a symbolic gesture, was a a symbolism of breaking down what the church has done and residentials and all of that. I get that. I have a history with that church too, through my father and through his work with the First Nation people there. And he did some work with in doing some history for them, and discovering some history, and wrote this book and working on it. And he found it, that was, I think, his blue flame, part of his blue flame, my father. In my just looking into history, and then a plaque was donated. Whether that was right or wrong, I'm not too sure, but it's history. And I think that's the whole thing. It's like we can't cancel out the history. We have to understand the history. We have to learn from the history one day. One day we will learn from the history. Right now, we seem not to be learning from history. We're quickly repeating a lot of fucking shit with history. But if we can learn from it, and that's where the light comes in, if we can learn with it and stand with that power. The reason why I'm bringing up the church, I think it's like, okay, yes, okay, we burnt it down. Fine. Now what? Now what? What does that do? What does that do? It makes you feel great in the moment. But what does that do? Is that what are the things are you going to do with the people who went there and actually worshipped? The people that went in there and the graves that are buried there, like, are you just as good as the other are you just as bad, or are you just as good? I'm not too sure. Exactly. We can change our present and our future. And that's the thing, you can't change it, right? Do you have any advice for quitting cigarettes? Don't buy them. Don't buy them. Uh, there's my advice, Dan. But I think, going forward, there's a lot that we have to do, and I think for I can see with many that are there, a lot of pain, and a lot of pain within the community, because it's a big community of people within there, and the Penticton has the second largest Catholic community within that diocese, um, and it's just I think it is a. I also get like it's really something moving forward. There's a movement forward from this on creating something of a positiveness with them, right? I keep buying them. So, and they must be doing something for you, Dan, because you keep buying them. So honor it. Honor what you're doing. I mean, bless it. If you're really wanting, I think anything that if we're really wanting to quit, it comes over, then we're going to quit. If you don't want to quit, you're not going to quit. That's with anything. So if I don't want to eat cheese at night, I can walk by the cheese aisle and not buy cheese anymore. So it's not that you're a weak person. It's just something that you need at this time. Honor it, and then ask yourself, why do you want to quit? That's the thing with anything. Why do you want to quit? Why do you want to release it? And if you're going to quit, what are you going to replace it with? That's the other thing. So what do you want to replace that with? So that's the other part too. When we're doing things. But I think I don't know, that's just a weird thing that hit me today with that church being burnt down. I hate to see anything that anything like that, a church, a monastery, anything like that being destroyed. It just, I don't care. Like even when it comes to if as sacred sites, when you go into certain sacred sites, and people want to go in there, like Stonehenge, like that's a sacred site. You don't want to go in there and destroy it. You don't want to go there and push it down because you're mad at some Preolithic, I don't know, Neanderthal that built it because they did something to your ancestor or whatever thousands of years ago. No, there's power there. There's this energy there that can be utilized, and how it's utilized is important. Are you utilizing the energy to create change and community and positivity? This is the thing. Whether you believe in church or you believe in the dog, whatever it is, I mean, that is something that is sacred to somebody. And you also have to look at too, that's happening in our world, is that through this pandemic and the lockdowns, first things that they wanted, that they closed down, were the churches. And churches are community. They bring forth where people gather. And when people can't gather, why? Right? I mean, they allowed other things to continue on through it, but that was a big one that they closed, and I found it very very interesting in them doing that, and just a lot of things. And of course, with Mercury going forward, and then finding, the church, that's something that's being revealed. There's that, and then the bill being passed in Canada here last night, which they gave no two shits about. Everybody, and even the NDP and the Quebecois and all of those assholes voted for it too. So things are coming up and being revealed. So this is where the sacredness comes in. There's a power in prayer. You know that. There's a huge power in prayer, and there's a huge power in ritual. When you gather in prayer and you gather in, this is why when they did the rain dance, doing the rain dance, that was power. That's building the power up and pushing it up. There's something there, right? And building that power up. So there's it doesn't matter. There's a power in that. I think I may share a difference of opinion on church, or at least in the sense of American merge mega churches. I wouldn't consider them sacred. though I'm late in this discussion. Oh, to certain, you might not too, but whoever goes to them do. Like there's a sacredness, doesn't matter. Just like I find sacredness going out and standing in the Rocky Mountains. To me, standing in the majesty of the Rocky Mountains, or Lake Louise. I mean, unfortunately, Lake Louise is just too inundated with people now, but going there to the lake and to the river is sacred, right? Not everybody's going to see that as that, but that's where it doesn't matter what it is. This is the thing. It's that heart. And when we can come into the heart and the truth and the love without being an asshole, without being dictatorial or being a write-off bitch about it, when we can come in the truth and not to point fingers and say, yeah, I honor where you are. Yeah, that's where this energy from above is coming in. Exactly. It is all sacred. But when things are not being taken care of with heart, when we're not taking care of things with heart and truth, when it comes to our children, when it comes to our families, and wanting to rip things apart, rip families apart. I mean, that's the other thing that's coming in with the cancel culture, is a ripping apart of family, and that's no, right? Family sacred, whatever you call your family. It's a sacred thing, because family brings in unity, brings in a place of reverence, and a place where we can come together and gather. And that coming in with Mercury retrograde, going forward with this energy being released in Scorpio. Anything being released in Scorpio is going to cause an uproar in something, because that's what Scorpios do. It brings you to the boundaries. It brings you to the truth. It brings you to understanding what is important in your life, bringing in your passions. And it's the one that steps into the taboo. What is the taboo? What is taboo that is happening in this world right now that people don't want to talk about? And looking at what the taboo is. And that's all part of it. And part of the energies that have coming up, especially with Eris and Pluto coming in, is things being forced upon people and the sexual abuse. So sexual abuse has been a big one with Eris. Every time Eris and Pluto square off, there's a huge uproar when it comes to things to do with sexual abuse and predators. And the predator. So a lot of things to do with things that people, the predators, are coming out, and the ones who are preying upon that of the weaker. And this is where it's like, okay, this is the energy that comes in. It's like we want to make sure things are protected. Understanding that okay, if we're going to destroy this, what are we going to replace it with? That's the other thing. We could go around, destroy a whole bunch of crazy fucking shit, but what are we going to replace it with? Right? Or are we going to just leave the remains there? I mean, I know now they're talking about what they want to do with the residential schools. I think a lot of them need to be brought into as museums, as a reminder. As a reminder. Same with what they did with Auschwitz. It's a reminder. It's a reminder. This is what happened, and we can't allow it to happen again. With what might be a truth to one might not be the same for others. True. And it true on that, but it's having respect for the other person's truth is a big one. But for instance, Trump supporters are being somewhat, Trump, well, it's, yeah, truth about election fraud. Yes, towards what we would see sacred and positioned. And the president, we are stuck between two realities. Only one can be the truth. Well, remember, the truth is with the light. It's always with the light, not with the darkness. The other part there, when we look at things that are happening, is the darkness. And we can get stuck in that muggle world. We can see it, we can acknowledge it, but I don't have to go into it. That's not where my reality wants to go. My reality wants to step into my truth, wants to step into my light. And if I can go in and be that example and carry that forth, sometimes it's being vulnerable, it's being open to it. And sometimes it's fucking hard. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's emotional. And looking at the things when you step into that truth of the heart, dropping from here, the intellect, and going into your first consciousness, which is the heart. Where's the heart leading you? Where's the heart leading you? You know, that's the thing. It's like, where's the heart leading you? Things will be, people will be alienated. People may be pushed around. It's like, again, we're going through a lot of things that happened precursor to World War II. And people being alienated, people being pushed, vaccination or no vaccination. Where's my truth? I know what my truth is and what I'm going to do. Is that might stop me from doing certain things at this time? That's fine. I'm going to own that, but I'm going to stick with my truth. And I'm going to stick with what the direction I need to go with. We have many, those who've gone before us have stuck with their truth, and their energy has lived on. And they've been the ones who've been the persecuted, from Gandhi to others who've stood up for rights. And that's standing into that truth. That's standing into our truth. I just got notification and I do have to go because I have a client in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to send you guys off. Bill, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And, please, continue that conversation. And sometimes it's going to get frustrating, especially what's happening in the United States, and the political climate, the political energy that's down there. It's we know it's all a puppet show. We know it's all a puppet show. So it's like, okay, this is where I need to stand. And especially being at the end of the day, knowing you're all American, we're all Canadian, but at the core of it, we're all human and connecting with that human energy. So have a beautiful, beautiful day. We have aircon if you want to work from hours. I would love to. I would love to. I would love to work from a place with air conditioning, but it wouldn't be feasible, Dana, for me to be able to do that. But have a fabulous day, everybody. I love you. May the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless you in all that you say and all that you be and all that you do. Have a blessed one, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Blessed be.